Amid the dazzling glow of opulent mansions and billion-dollar deals, love often blooms quietly in the humblest corners. This is the story of Ethan Caldwell, a young millionaire torn between the crushing weight of family expectations and a burning desire to live true to himself, and Sophia Bennett, a modest woman concealing a turbulent past. Fate drew them together in Serenity Cove, a tranquil seaside town where the whispering waves tell tales of new beginnings. Their journey is a vibrant tapestry of profound empathy, breathless suspense, and heart-stopping shocks that set the soul ablaze. Beyond a romance that transcends the divide of wealth and poverty, this is a tale of confronting the shadows of the past, discovering one's true self, and uncovering the radiant light of authentic happiness. Each step Ethan and Sophia take is a poignant reminder that love can heal, even when secrets threaten to tear it apart. Let this story sweep you into a world where the heart charts the course, leaving an echo that lingers long after the tale is told. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to dive into more inspiring stories, where love always triumphs. Beneath the shimmering glow of a chandelier in the opulent dining room of the Caldwell mansion, Ethan Caldwell sat in silence, his heart heavy, as if bound by invisible chains. As the heir to Caldwell Enterprises, a billion-dollar tech empire, Ethan was no stranger to suffocating expectations. But tonight, the fog-draped room carried an unfamiliar tension. His father William's piercing gaze sliced through the air like a blade, while his mother Victoria's forced smile strained to mask the unease. The silver cutlery gleamed on the table, yet Ethan barely touched the exquisite meal before him. A storm was brewing, he could sense it, and it would upend his life forever. As the dinner sank into an oppressive silence, William set down his napkin, his deep, commanding voice shattering the stillness. He declared it was time for Ethan to embrace his true role in the family, not merely as heir, but as a strategic pawn in a global business chess game. He unveiled the plan. Ethan would marry Isabella Volkov, daughter of a notorious Russian oil tycoon, whose vast reserves could cement Caldwell Enterprises' dominance in international markets. Isabella, a woman of 45, nearly 2 decades Ethan's senior, embodied the sacrifice his family demanded, a loveless marriage orchestrated to secure billion-dollar contracts. William spoke with chilling certainty, as if Ethan's happiness were a trivial footnote in the grand narrative of power and ambition. Ethan felt the blood freeze in his veins. He stared at his father, eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Isabella Volkov, a stranger, someone who could be his aunt, chosen not for love, but for numbers on a balance sheet. He searched for words to protest, but his throat tightened, choked by the harsh reality. In that moment, years of living under the shadow of family expectations flooded his mind. Endless board meetings, relentless business trips, and personal dreams buried beneath the weight of the Caldwell name. He wanted to scream, to shatter the stifling silence, but all he could muster was a faint, trembling question, as if to confirm this nightmare was real. William, his gaze unrelenting, responded with a cruel threat. If Ethan defied him, he would be severed from the family. No inheritance, no stake in the company, no financial support or prestige he had once leaned on. It wasn't a warning. It was an ultimatum, delivered with the confidence of a man who knew he held all the cards. Victoria, ever the peacemaker, tried to intervene with a soft voice, but her words stung like salt in a wound. She spoke of Isabella as a refined and mature woman, as if age or unfamiliarity were irrelevant, as if love could be learned over time. To Ethan, her words deepened the sting of betrayal. He wasn't just their son. He was a tool, a means to fortify the family's power. Rage erupted in Ethan's chest, a blazing, uncontrollable fire. He shot to his feet, the chair scraping against the wooden floor with a jarring screech. He looked at his parents, once beloved and revered, now strangers. In that moment, he realized their love for him was conditional, demanding the sacrifice of his freedom, his happiness, his very self to fulfill their ambitions. He could endure it no longer. Without a word of explanation, without a backward glance, Ethan stormed out of the dining room, leaving William and Victoria in stunned silence. His footsteps echoed through the vast halls of the mansion, each one a silent vow that he would not let them dictate his life. Outside, the night enveloped him, cold and still, with only the whistle of wind through the trees. Ethan leapt into his sleek sports car, his heart pounding. He had no plan, no destination, only a desperate yearning to escape the gilded cage his family had built around him. The engine roared, shattering the night's quiet, and he sped into the darkness, city streets giving way to empty highways. William's words, "Lose everything," echoed in his mind. But instead of fear, Ethan felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps losing everything was the price of reclaiming himself. Through the night, he drove without pause, his mind swirling with memories and questions. He thought of the times he'd dreamed of a different life, one not defined by wealth or power. As dawn broke, Ethan found himself in an unfamiliar place. Serenity Cove, a tiny seaside town where time seemed to stand still. Rustic wooden houses, the briny scent of the sea, and the gentle lapping of waves against the shore brought a peace he'd never known. He pulled up to a small inn, his heart still racing, but for the first time in months, he felt he could breathe. Serenity Cove wasn't a destination Ethan chose. It was where fate guided him. He stepped out of the car, carrying only the weight of his wounds and a vague resolve to find his own path. He didn't know this quaint town would transform his life, or that he would meet someone who would make him believe love and sincerity could heal any scar. But before a new light could dawn, Ethan had to confront his own darkness, the fear of losing everything, and the question of whether he had the courage to live true to his heart. Ethan's story is just beginning, and the secrets awaiting him in Serenity Cove will keep you riveted. If this emotional journey has gripped you, drop a cola in the comments to let us know you're with us. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to catch the next chapter, where love and mystery intertwine, leading to shocking twists. Join us to discover what Ethan finds in this seaside haven, and whether he can break free from the shadows of his past to embrace the light of true happiness. As the first golden rays of dawn pierced the velvet veil of night, painting the horizon with hues of hope, Ethan Caldwell stirred awake in a modest room at a Serenity Cove Inn, the briny kiss of the sea drifting through the open window. The relentless drive through the shadowed hours, fleeing the icy venom of his father's threats and the mute complicity of his mother, had led him to this coastal refuge, a town where time seemed to pause, cradling its secrets in gentle whispers. The weathered wooden cottages, caressed by the ocean's breath, the cobblestone path meandering past unassuming storefronts, and the tender lullaby of waves against the shore stirred something deep within Ethan, a fleeting taste of liberation he had never known. For the first time in months, the iron grip of his family's expectations and the looming specter of Caldwell Enterprises loosened, allowing his heart to breathe. Serenity Cove, with its raw, unpolished beauty and serene hush, felt like a sanctuary where he could shed his past, or at the very least, a haven where he could cease his endless running. After settling into the inn, its red-tiled roof glowing warmly under the morning sun, and vibrant wildflower pots bursting with life, Ethan stepped into the crisp air, letting the salty breeze unravel the knots in his mind. His steps, almost guided by instinct, led him to Tidewater Cafe, a quaint gem tucked along the town's sleepy main street. The wooden door groaned softly as he entered, and he was instantly enveloped in a cocoon of warmth, the rich scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the buttery allure of warm pastries. Dusty bookshelves cradled worn novels, black and white photographs of Serenity Cove's storied past adorned the walls, and soft sunlight spilled through the windows, casting a golden glow that felt like a long-awaited embrace. Behind the counter, a young woman with hair loosely gathered and a floral apron moved with quiet grace, tending to customers with a radiant ease. This was Sophia Bennett, a stranger whose light would soon become the beacon guiding Ethan through his storm-tossed journey. Sophia's eyes lifted as Ethan neared the counter, sparkling with a warmth that rivaled the dawn itself, like sunlight shimmering across a tranquil sea. Her smile was a burst of life, her voice soft, yet pulsing with an infectious vitality, as though every soul who crossed her path were a cherished companion. With a playful lilt, she declared Tidewater Cafe's coffee the best in town, gesturing toward an elderly man in the corner who raised his mug in jovial agreement. Ethan, whose lips had forgotten how to curve in joy, felt a faint smile tug at his mouth, a fragile spark piercing the heavy fog of despair that had cloaked him for days. That fleeting gesture, small as it was a lifeline, a whisper of light in the darkness left by his family's betrayal. In that sacred moment, the weight of his confrontation with his kin began to dissolve, replaced by a curious warmth, as if a missing fragment of his soul had quietly clicked into place. Their exchange flowed like a gentle tide, unburdened by pretense or artifice. Sophia, with a sincerity as rare as a pearl, offered glimpses of her world. She spoke of a dream once held close, to paint vibrant, abstract canvases that captured the heart's unspoken colors. But that vision had been tucked away after a shattering tragedy. Her parents' lives were stolen in a car accident years ago, leaving her and her younger brother, Liam, adrift. At just 20, Sophia had shouldered the role of guardian, trading her aspirations for the steady rhythm of Tidewater Cafe to provide for her now 16-year-old brother. Her words carried the faint ache of dreams deferred, yet they were untouched by bitterness. Only a quiet resilience, like the sea's ceaseless devotion to the shore despite the fiercest storms. Ethan listened, spellbound, her story weaving a spell that revealed a strength he had never glimpsed in the polished, hollow world of his upbringing. Ethan, though captivated by Sophia's unguarded authenticity, guarded his own truth like a fragile flame. He offered only that he hailed from a sprawling city, fleeing the chokehold of his family's demands. His words were veiled, but his eyes, stormy with unspoken pain, betrayed a longing to live unbound by the chains of his past. Sophia, with an almost ethereal sensitivity, sensed the weight he carried and chose not to pry. Her gaze, steady and piercing, seemed to see beyond the fortress he had built around his heart, nodding as if she understood not just his halting confession, but the silent burdens he wasn't yet ready to unveil. In that tender exchange, a delicate thread of connection wove itself between them, fragile as gossamer, yet pulsing with the promise of something eternal, like the fabled red string of fate beginning to bind their souls. When Sophia slid the steaming coffee across the counter, Ethan found its warmth was more than the bold richness of the brew. It was the embrace of Serenity Cove, the hearth of Tidewater Cafe, and above all, the quiet radiance of Sophia herself. He settled at a small table by the window, the cup warming his hands as his gaze drifted with the town's unhurried rhythm. Locals ebbed and flowed, calling Sophia by name with an easy affection that marked her as the pulse of this community. Ethan watched her, how her smile lit up each interaction, how she wiped the counter with care, how her eyes sparkled when she spoke of the simplest joys. There was an alchemy in Sophia that made him feel truly seen. Not as Ethan Caldwell, the heir to a tarnished empire, but as Ethan, a man adrift, yearning for a life that was his own. This fleeting moment at Tidewater Cafe was no mere pause in time. It was the spark of a journey where two wounded souls, Ethan and Sophia, found each other amid the ceaseless waves of Serenity Cove. Both bore scars and secrets, yet they shared a quiet hunger to forge a life free from the shadows of their pasts. As Ethan stepped back into the morning light, a strange warmth bloomed in his chest, a flicker of hope that this unassuming town and the woman with the radiant smile might hold the key to a future he had never dared imagine. In his first days at Serenity Cove, Ethan Caldwell discovered a new rhythm of life, slow and meaningful, a stark contrast to the frenetic world of skyscrapers and billion-dollar deals. Each morning, he stepped into Tidewater Cafe, where the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with warm pastries, where soft light filtered through the windows, and where Sophia Bennett, with a smile as radiant as summer sunshine, became the bright spot in his shadowed days. From a stranger passing through, Ethan quickly became a familiar face, the table by the window now seemingly reserved for him, a quiet perch where he watched the gentle pulse of the small town. But more than anything, a place to draw closer to Sophia. Their connection blossomed naturally, like waves gliding silently to shore. Brief exchanges at first stretched into deep, heartfelt conversations, where they bared their dreams, fears, and the small moments that gave life meaning. Sophia spoke of Liam, her 16-year-old brother with bright eyes and a mischievous grin, whom she had raised since their parents perished in a tragic car accident. She shared stories of long nights working at the cafe, of years setting aside her dream of becoming a painter to ensure Liam had a home and a hopeful future. Her voice was gentle, yet it carried a quiet strength, a sacrifice unspoken but profound. Ethan listened, captivated by her kindness and resilience, qualities utterly foreign to the glamorous but icy world he had known. In Sophia, he saw a heart untainted by ambition or vanity, a soul that stirred in him a longing to be near her. Ethan, though enchanted by Sophia's warmth, maintained an invisible distance. He didn't reveal that he was the heir to Caldwell Enterprises, a billion-dollar tech empire, or that he was fleeing an arranged marriage to Isabella Volkov, the daughter of a Russian oil magnate. Instead, he spoke vaguely of feeling trapped, of the suffocating expectations imposed by his family, words hazy but heavy with the pain he carried. He feared that the truth of his identity, a millionaire with a seemingly perfect life, would raise a wall between them, shattering the fragile bond taking root. Each time he met Sophia's gaze, he saw an unspoken understanding, but also a quiet question. What was he hiding? Sophia, though open about her life, also held deep secrets close. She never mentioned her father, Arthur Reynolds, an oil tycoon once at the heart of a scandal that rocked the corporate world, leaving her with a legacy steeped in infamy and sorrow. Her past was a locked door, sealed by memories of tense family dinners, bitter arguments between her parents, and the day her life crumbled when her father was arrested for fraud and extortion. She had spent years escaping the Reynolds name, building a new life in Serenity Cove where no one knew the scars she bore. But the past, like a persistent shadow, refused to let her go. One afternoon, as the sunset bathed the sea in gold, Sophia was wiping down the counter when her phone buzzed. Ethan, seated at his usual table with a cold cup of coffee, noticed a shift in her demeanor. The ever-present smile faded from her lips, her eyes growing distant, as if pulled back to a place she dreaded. She stepped outside to take the call, her voice fading into the sound of the waves. When she returned, she dodged Ethan's curious glance, murmuring only that it was complicated, before swiftly changing the subject. Ethan sensed the pain she concealed, a deep and familiar ache, much like the wounds he carried. He wanted to ask more, to share her burden, but the sincerity in Sophia's eyes silenced him. He knew, just as she did, that neither was ready to fully open their heart. Despite the secrets hovering between them, the closeness between Ethan and Sophia deepened. Each morning at Tidewater Cafe, they found solace in simple moments, a joke about the weather, a story about Liam, or a meaningful glance exchanged. Ethan began to feel a spark of hope, a possibility that he could build a new life in Serenity Cove, one not defined by wealth or power, but by the things that truly mattered. Sophia, with her open heart and quiet strength, became the reason he wanted to stay, to fight his own fears. He wondered if he could let go of everything, his inheritance, his reputation, the life his family had mapped out, to pursue a future with her. But deep within, Ethan knew the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. With each passing day, the weight of his secret grew heavier. He feared that when Sophia learned he was a fugitive millionaire, she would see him differently. Not as Ethan, the man seeking purpose, but as an heir with problems she couldn't fathom. Likewise, Sophia wrestled with her own fears. The lawyer's call was a reminder that her past was knocking, and she didn't know if she had the courage to face it, or if Ethan would stand by her when the full truth emerged. Both, though drawn together by an irresistible pull, stood at the edge of truth and trust. Beneath the radiant sunset of Serenity Cove, the bond between Ethan Caldwell and Sophia Bennett bloomed like wildflowers along the shore, beautiful yet fragile against the winds of their pasts. Each morning at Tidewater Cafe, they found solace in simple moments, a shared glance, a story of unfulfilled dreams, or a smile that seemed to slow the world around them. But though their hearts drew closer, the secrets they concealed, like silent shadows trailing behind, began to shake the tender connection they were building. Serenity Cove, with its tranquil beauty and gentle waves, could not remain a sanctuary forever for two souls fleeing their own truths. The pressures of their pasts, like a quiet storm, were gathering, threatening to sweep away the fragile hopes they had so carefully sown. Ethan, though he found peace beside Sophia, could not escape the towering shadow of his family. One afternoon, as he sat on the beach, watching waves glitter under the sunlight, his phone buzzed with a message from his mother, Victoria. Her words were brief but sharp, a chilling reminder of the looming deadline. He must return to the city, accept the marriage to Isabella Volkov, or face irreparable consequences. If he refused, Ethan would lose everything: his stake in Caldwell Enterprises, his vast fortune, and the family's support, which had shaped his life since childhood. The message struck like a knife, slicing through the fragile calm he had built in Serenity Cove. His chest tightened, fear rising like a caged beast. Losing everything wasn't just about wealth or power. It was about losing the identity he had lived for years, even if that identity had never truly been his own. Yet every moment with Sophia kindled a fire within him, a belief that an authentic life, however hard won, was worth the sacrifice. Watching her wipe down the counter at Tidewater Cafe, her gentle smile offered to a regular, or hearing her speak of Liam with eyes full of love, Ethan felt a fierce longing to stay, to build a future unbound by stifling expectations. Sophia, with her quiet strength and open heart, became the embodiment of what he yearned for, a life where love and meaning outshone fame and ambition. But he knew that to claim that future, he had to face the truth, that he was a millionaire on the run, and that truth could forever alter how Sophia saw him. Meanwhile, Sophia waged her own battle against her inner demons. One morning, as sunlight streamed through the cafe's windows, her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. It was her father's lawyer, a figure she had avoided for years. His dry voice announced that Sophia was entitled to a vast inheritance from her father, Arthur Reynolds, a notorious oil tycoon whose fraud and extortion scandals had once shaken the world. The fortune, millions of dollars, enough to transform her and Liam's lives, came with a harsh condition. She must publicly claim her role as heir, stand before a board of directors, and bear the Reynolds name, a name she had spent her youth escaping. The news hit Sophia like a blow to the chest, dragging her back to painful memories she had fought to bury. Arthur Reynolds was more than a businessman. He was a ruthless figure whose pursuit of wealth left countless lives in ruins. As a young girl, Sophia had watched her family crumble under the weight of his ambition. Lavish dinners fraught with tension, vicious arguments between her parents, and finally, the day her father was arrested, bringing down everything: wealth, honor, all of it. Her mother sank into depression and died soon after, leaving Sophia, at 20, to raise Liam alone. She had fled the city, changed her name, and built a new life in Serenity Cove, where she was Sophia Bennett, a humble cafe worker, not the daughter of a disgraced criminal. But the lawyer's call was a stark reminder that the past never truly fades. Torn apart, Sophia chose to share a fragment of her story with Ethan. One afternoon, as they sat on the beach, watching the sun dip below the horizon, she spoke of her father, not by name, only that he was a powerful man who caused great suffering. She confessed her fear that accepting the inheritance would define her by his sins, tainting the life she had painstakingly built in Serenity Cove. Her voice trembled, but her eyes held steady, as if searching for a reason to believe she could overcome. Ethan, burdened by his own family's expectations, felt a profound empathy. He took her hand, urging her to use the money for good, to transform a painful legacy into a fresh start. His words were sincere, yet guilt surged within him. He was counseling her to face her truth while still hiding his own secret identity. Both Ethan and Sophia stood at a crossroads. Ethan knew his family's deadline was nearing, and each day he lingered in Serenity Cove brought him closer to losing everything. But every moment with Sophia convinced him that true happiness was worth the cost. Sophia, meanwhile, grappled with the idea of accepting her father's fortune. It could fund Liam's college, open an art studio, but it might also drag her back into a past she had fought to forget. They found comfort in each other, but the secrets they kept, Ethan's identity, Sophia's legacy loomed like dark clouds gathering over Serenity Cove, heralding an unavoidable storm. As the sunset bathed Serenity Cove's sea in golden hues, Ethan Caldwell and Sophia Bennett strolled along the soft sand, the gentle lapping of waves whispering like a call of fate. Their days together at Tidewater Cafe had drawn them close, weaving their hearts with deep conversations and simple, meaningful moments. Yet, secrets still lingered between them, like dark clouds quietly gathering over a serene sky. Under the radiant glow of the fading day, Ethan felt an irresistible urge. He had to open his heart, to let truth guide him, even if it risked changing everything. This moment, on the windswept beach, would become a turning point, where their love faced the test of honesty and the shadows of their pasts. Ethan, his heart pounding, paused by a small outcrop of rock, his eyes locked on Sophia. The sunset reflected in her gaze, as if she were part of the majestic natural canvas before them. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the secret he had carried since arriving in Serenity Cove. In a rare moment of courage, he let the truth spill forth. He confessed that he was the heir to Caldwell Enterprises, a billion-dollar tech empire, and that he was fleeing an arranged marriage to Isabella Volkov, daughter of a Russian oil magnate. The marriage, orchestrated by his parents to solidify a business alliance, was the gilded cage he had shattered when he drove away from his family's mansion in anger and despair. His confession, though brief, carried the weight of a life shaped by expectation and power, a life he no longer wished to claim. Sophia stood motionless, her eyes wide with shock, but no judgment clouded her expression. Instead, a profound empathy slowly emerged, as if Ethan's revelation had touched a hidden corner of her soul. She turned to face the sea, letting the ocean breeze carry away her swirling thoughts. After a moment of silence, she began to share her own story, her voice soft but trembling. She revealed that her father was Arthur Reynolds, a notorious oil tycoon whose fraud and extortion scandals had left countless families broken in his ruthless quest for power. His name was not just a stain on society, but a deep scar on Sophia's heart. She spoke of her youth, watching her family collapse under the weight of her father's sins, and how she had fled the Reynolds name to build a new life in Serenity Cove. Her confession, like a river breaching a dam, carried both pain and release. In that moment, under the blazing sunset, Ethan and Sophia realized they were more than two people who had met by chance in a seaside town. They were kindred spirits, imprisoned by family expectations, shaped by legacies they hadn't chosen, yet yearning for an authentic life. Ethan took Sophia's hand, feeling the warmth of her touch like a promise that they were not alone. He looked into her eyes, seeing both vulnerability and strength, and for the first time, he felt truly understood, not as Ethan Caldwell, the billionaire heir, but as Ethan, a man seeking purpose. Sophia, though stunned by his identity, found comfort in his sincerity. She realized that, like her, Ethan was running, not just from a marriage, but from a life that wasn't his own. Yet despite this moment drawing them closer than ever, both held back the final pieces of their truths. Sophia didn't disclose that her father's inheritance came with complex conditions, forcing her to face a board of directors, men who had been Arthur Reynolds' allies in his dark schemes. She feared that if Ethan knew the full truth, he would see her as the daughter of a criminal, no longer Sophia Bennett, the humble woman of Tidewater Cafe. That fear, like an invisible thread, tightened around her heart whenever she thought of a future with Ethan. She wanted to believe their love was strong enough to endure, but memories of her painful past made her hesitate, clutching her secret like a final shield. Ethan, meanwhile, carried his own private dread. Though he had revealed his identity, he didn't tell Sophia that rejecting the marriage to Isabella could cost him everything. Not just his wealth, but his family's support, his reputation, and all he had ever known. He feared that if Sophia knew he risked becoming a man with nothing, she might pull away, not because she valued money, but because she might think he was gambling too much for her. That fear, though subtle, gnawed at him whenever he saw her smile. He wanted to shield her from his burdens, But deep down, he knew love could not flourish without absolute honesty. As the sunset faded, Ethan and Sophia stood together, hand in hand, their hearts entwined by a love both fierce and fragile. Serenity Cove, with its ceaseless waves kissing the shore, seemed to whisper that they could build a future together, a future where the past no longer defined them, where they could be their true selves. They began to dream of days spent side by side, of mornings at Tidewater Cafe, of afternoons strolling the beach, and of a life free from the weight of expectations or others' sins. But both knew that dream could only come true if they dared to face their remaining secrets, placing their trust in each other despite the uncertain road ahead. Beneath the boundless sapphire canopy of Serenity Cove's sky, where the ocean's whispers wove timeless sagas of endurance, Ethan Caldwell and Sophia Bennett stood poised at a heart-wrenching juncture. Their love, a tapestry spun from tender mornings at Tidewater Cafe and starlit evenings along the shore, burned like a beacon, warming their souls against the icy shadows of their pasts. Yet no matter how fiercely that flame glowed, it could not wholly banish the heavy veil of secrets and burdens pressing upon them. On this fateful day, they faced choices that would carve their destinies, not merely as individuals, but as partners who dared to dream of a shared forever. This was their crucible, where courage wrestled with dread, where love and truth were summoned to prove their mettle. Sophia, her heart laden as though it bore the weight of the entire sea, stepped into the sterile boardroom of a sleek city skyscraper, far from the tranquil embrace of Serenity Cove. The air was frigid, the glass walls casting stark reflections of unyielding light, and the faces around the polished table, strangers cloaked in power, watched her with a blend of intrigue and scrutiny. These men, once loyal to her father, Arthur Reynolds, had seen his oil empire crumble in a storm of scandal. Now they held the keys to the colossal inheritance Sophia was destined to claim. But the price was a jagged blade. She must step into the spotlight as the Reynolds heir, wear her family's tarnished name, and face a world that would judge her without mercy. For Sophia, this was no mere financial choice. It was a war between the ghosts of her past and the future she yearned to forge. As she stood before the board, the weight of memory pressed down like an anchor. She recalled sleepless nights overhearing her parents' bitter quarrels, the sting of tabloid headlines vilifying her family, and the day she fled the city to become Sophia Bennett, a woman of quiet resilience in Serenity Cove. Fear slithered through her, whispering that claiming the inheritance would drag her back into that suffocating darkness, tainting the life she had so carefully built for herself and those she loved. But then, Ethan's face shimmered in her mind, his steady, trusting gaze, his gentle words urging her to transform a cursed legacy into a force for good. His faith became her anchor. Sophia drew a trembling breath, squared her shoulders, and unleashed a proclamation that sent ripples of shock through the room. She would accept the fortune, but on her terms. A substantial portion would be dedicated to uplifting young artists from struggling communities, dreamers like her, who had hungered for a chance. The audacity of her compassionate resolve stunned the board. After a taut, breathless silence, they acquiesced, and Sophia exited the room, her heart a turbulent sea of relief and trepidation. She had chosen a perilous path, one that would force her to confront not only her past, but also the skeptical eyes of the community she held dear. Hundreds of miles away, Ethan stood on the windswept sands of Serenity Cove, his phone quaking in his grip as it carried the cold, unyielding voice of his father, William. The words sliced through the air like a guillotine. Return to the city, wed Isabella Volkov, or forfeit everything. His share of Caldwell Enterprises, the family fortune, and the legacy he was groomed to uphold. William's ultimatum was merciless, shredding any lingering hope that his father might soften. Ethan's chest constricted, fear surging like a tidal wave. Losing everything wasn't merely about wealth. It was the unraveling of his very identity, a world he had always known, even if it had never truly belonged to him. But then, Sophia's image flared in his heart, her radiant smile, her quiet fortitude, and the way she made him believe that a life of authenticity was worth more than any empire. In that pivotal moment, A fierce tide of liberation roared within Ethan. He gazed at the ocean, where waves crashed relentlessly against the shore, and declared to his father that he would neither marry Isabella nor bend to their schemes. His voice held firm, though his pulse thundered with fear. When he ended the call, leaving William in stunned silence, the sea breeze swept over him, sharp and bracing. That newfound freedom was intoxicating, yet it carried a bitter edge of uncertainty. He had burned the final bridge to his family, but could he navigate the uncharted waters ahead? The question gnawed at him, propelling him to race back to Tidewater Cafe, where Sophia awaited, where he hoped to find clarity. As Ethan shoved open the cafe door, the wind chimes sang their silvery welcome, and his eyes locked onto Sophia. She stood behind the counter, her gaze adrift, as if grappling with the monumental choice she had just made. In that instant, Ethan saw that they were both wayfarers at their own crossroads, bound by love yet tested by their individual trials. Sophia, fresh from her battle in the boardroom, carried the weight of her inheritance and the Reynolds name, a mantle both empowering and perilous. Ethan, having defied his family's iron grip, bore the raw fear of a man stripped to his essence, with nothing but his heart to guide him. Their eyes met, and in that silent, electric moment, they understood the deeper question looming before them. Could their love withstand the tempests of their choices, or would the paths they had chosen tear them asunder? The cafe's warm glow seemed to hold its breath, the aroma of coffee and sea salt mingling in the air, as Ethan and Sophia stood on the precipice of their shared destiny. They were two souls, scarred yet resolute, each having waged a battle against their pasts to claim their truth. The waves outside murmured their ancient song, a reminder that the tide always returns. But the future remained a vast, uncharted sea. Would they sail it together, or would the currents of their decisions pull them apart? In that fragile, fleeting moment, the answer hung suspended, as delicate and powerful as the love that bound them. On the sun-drenched sands of Serenity Cove, where the ocean's relentless waves pounded the shore with a rhythm that seemed to chant of life's unyielding march, Ethan Caldwell and Sophia Bennett stood as warriors of their own truths. Having cast aside the suffocating chains of familial expectations, they had chosen honesty, a path as exhilarating as it was perilous. But such defiance, like all acts of courage, carried a steep price. The fallout from their choices swept through their lives like a bitter gale, rattling the tranquil town and testing the fragile, radiant love they had begun to nurture. This was the next chapter of their odyssey, a tapestry woven from pain and promise, where they would learn to forge a future from the shattered remnants of their pasts. For Ethan, the consequences of his rebellion crashed over him with the force of a rogue wave. Mere days after his heart-wrenching confrontation with his father, William, a cold, formal letter arrived, its words as unyielding as stone. Ethan was severed from Caldwell Enterprises. No inheritance, no assets, no trace of the wealth or prestige that had once defined him. The opulent mansions, private jets, and glittering elite circles he had known faded into ghostly memories. Standing alone on Serenity Cove's beach, the horizon stretching endlessly before him, Ethan felt a hollow ache twist within his chest, yet it was laced with a strange, intoxicating freedom. The terror of losing everything, a specter that had haunted his dreams, had now become his reality. But in its wake, he glimpsed a rare gift, the chance to live authentically, unshackled from a legacy that had never truly been his. Yet, this liberty was no gentle reward. With only meager savings to his name, Ethan faced a future shrouded in uncertainty. No longer the billionaire heir, but a man stripped bare, searching for purpose in a world that felt both foreign and exhilarating. Across town, Sophia wrestled with her own tempest. The revelation that she was the daughter of Arthur Reynolds, the disgraced oil magnate, spread through Serenity Cove like a spark in dry grass. The town, once her sanctuary of quiet mornings and warm smiles, transformed into a crucible of judgmental gazes. Neighbors who had once greeted her with open hearts at Tidewater Cafe now whispered behind their hands, their eyes sharp with suspicion, as though she bore her father's sins etched upon her skin. One crisp afternoon, As Sophia poured coffee for patrons, an elderly regular's voice sliced through the cafe's hum. "The swindler's daughter," he sneered, his words a public brand that echoed in the stunned silence. Sophia froze, her heart clenching as though squeezed by an invisible fist, her breath caught in her throat. But before she could muster a reply, Ethan, who had just stepped through the door, strode forward. His voice, steady yet laced with quiet fire, cut through the tension. He reminded the room that Sophia was the one who had poured her heart into this community, not her father. His defense was a beacon, a flame that warmed Sophia's trembling soul. She met his gaze, and in his unwavering eyes, she found an unspoken vow. She would never face this storm alone. That moment ignited a spark, a shared resolve to rebuild from the ashes of their trials. Ethan, stirred by the cozy embrace of Tidewater Cafe and the serene beauty of Serenity Cove, dreamed of creating Haven's Edge, a quaint inn that would offer weary travelers the same peace he had found in this town. The vision was bold, a defiant proclamation that loss would not define him. But with his finances dwindled to a whisper, the dream seemed a distant star. Sophia, sensing the inn's significance not only for Ethan but for the heart of Serenity Cove, made a breathtaking choice. She pledged a portion of her Reynolds inheritance to fund Haven's Edge, not merely out of love for Ethan, but from a fierce belief that this town deserved a monument to healing. It was a daring leap, a testament to her vow to transmute a tainted legacy into a force for good, even as it tethered her future to the very name she had once fled. As Ethan and Sophia poured their hearts into blueprints for Haven's Edge, a shadow from Ethan's past emerged, unbidden. One golden morning, as he measured a beachside plot for the inn, a sleek luxury car rolled to a stop outside Tidewater Cafe. Out stepped Victoria, Ethan's mother, her poised elegance softened by eyes brimming with unspoken regret. Her arrival struck Ethan like a thunderbolt. Disowned and discarded, he had never imagined seeing his family again, least of all his mother, who had stood silent as William's ultimatums tore their bond apart. Victoria's voice, gentle yet weighted with sincerity, carried a plea for reconciliation. She confessed her failure in allowing William to push a loveless marriage with Isabella, and vowed to support Ethan's new path. Her words, though earnest, could not erase the scars of betrayal. Ethan, his heart guarded, agreed to a tentative truce, but with a firm boundary. She must honor the life he had chosen, one free from the Caldwell dynasty's hunger for power. Victoria's presence, though fraught with old wounds, cast a faint glow of hope that even broken bonds could mend. Bolstered by their shared vision, Ethan and Sophia threw themselves into building Haven's Edge. They labored tirelessly, sketching designs, navigating town permits, and pouring their souls into every detail. Sophia, wielding her inheritance with purpose, not only provided the financial backbone, but infused the project with compassion, proposing that Haven's Edge dedicate a portion of its profits to local children's art programs, a nod to the dreamers she had once been. Slowly, Serenity Cove's wary community began to soften. The skeptical glances that had once stung gave way to nods of respect, and Tidewater Cafe reclaimed its place as a hearth of shared stories, where townsfolk gathered to champion Ethan and Sophia's dream. The waves of Serenity Cove continued their eternal dance, a reminder that life, though scarred by trials, surges ever forward. Ethan and Sophia, tempered by loss yet alight with hope, stood hand in hand, their love a lighthouse against the storms they had weathered. Haven's Edge was more than an inn. It was a promise, a testament to their refusal to let pain define them. As the first bricks were laid, the town's whispers turned to cheers, and the future, once a shadowed unknown, began to shimmer with the possibility of a love and legacy built not on wealth, but on truth. That moment ignited a spark, a shared resolve to rebuild from the ashes of their trials. Ethan, stirred by the cozy embrace of Tidewater Cafe and the serene beauty of Serenity Cove, dreamed of creating Haven's Edge, a quaint inn that would offer weary travelers the same peace he had found in this town. The vision was bold, a defiant proclamation that loss would not define him. But with his finances dwindled to a whisper, the dream seemed a distant star. Sophia, sensing the inn's significance not only for Ethan but for the heart of Serenity Cove, made a breathtaking choice. She pledged a portion of her Reynolds inheritance to fund Haven's Edge, not merely out of love for Ethan, but from a fierce belief that this town deserved a monument to healing. It was a daring leap, a testament to her vow to transmute a tainted legacy into a force for good, even as it tethered her future to the very name she had once fled. As Ethan and Sophia poured their hearts into blueprints for Haven's Edge, a shadow from Ethan's past emerged, unbidden. One golden morning, as he measured a beachside plot for the inn, a sleek luxury car rolled to a stop outside Tidewater Cafe. Out stepped Victoria, Ethan's mother, her poised elegance softened by eyes brimming with unspoken regret. Her arrival struck Ethan like a thunderbolt. Disowned and discarded, he had never imagined seeing his family again, least of all his mother, who had stood silent as William's ultimatums tore their bond apart. Victoria's voice, gentle yet weighted with sincerity, carried a plea for reconciliation. She confessed her failure in allowing William to push a loveless marriage with Isabella, and vowed to support Ethan's new path. Her words, though earnest, could not erase the scars of betrayal. Ethan, his heart guarded, agreed to a tentative truce, but with a firm boundary. She must honor the life he had chosen, one free from the Caldwell dynasty's hunger for power. Victoria's presence, though fraught with old wounds, cast a faint glow of hope that even broken bonds could mend. Bolstered by their shared vision, Ethan and Sophia threw themselves into building Haven's Edge. They labored tirelessly, sketching designs, navigating town permits, and pouring their souls into every detail. Sophia, wielding her inheritance with purpose, not only provided the financial backbone, but infused the project with compassion, proposing that Haven's Edge dedicate a portion of its profits to local children's art programs, a nod to the dreamers she had once been. Slowly, Serenity Cove's wary community began to soften. The skeptical glances that had once stung gave way to nods of respect, and Tidewater Cafe reclaimed its place as a hearth of shared stories, where townsfolk gathered to champion Ethan and Sophia's dream. The waves of Serenity Cove continued their eternal dance, a reminder that life, though scarred by trials, surges ever forward. Ethan and Sophia, tempered by loss yet alight with hope, stood hand in hand, their love a lighthouse against the storms they had weathered. Haven's Edge was more than an inn. It was a promise, a testament to their refusal to let pain define them. As the first bricks were laid, the town's whispers turned to cheers, and the future, once a shadowed unknown, began to shimmer with the possibility of a love and legacy built not on wealth, but on truth. Liam, Sophia's younger brother, also carved his path along this journey. Once a spirited teenager with a penchant for mischief, he matured into a pillar of strength, working alongside Ethan to breathe life into Haven's Edge. From greeting guests with his infectious warmth to tending the inn's daily needs, Liam grew into a young man of purpose, his eyes alight with a dream of becoming a social entrepreneur, sparked by the examples of his sister and Ethan. Sophia watched him flourish, her chest tight with pride, knowing her sacrifices had cleared a radiant path for him. Liam's unwavering dedication and bright smile became the inn's soul, a reminder that Haven's Edge was a communal triumph, not merely Ethan and Sophia's alone. Meanwhile, Victoria, Ethan's mother, began to weave herself into the fabric of their new world. After her unexpected arrival in Serenity Cove, she came to treasure the quiet authenticity of the life Ethan and Sophia had forged. Though the scars of past betrayals lingered, Victoria sought atonement through tender acts, a heartfelt phone call, a fleeting visit, or a handcrafted gift for Sophia's art center. Ethan, once guarded, felt his heart soften, recognizing the sincerity in his mother's late but earnest transformation. Victoria, who had once glittered in the hollow opulence of the Caldwell Empire, found unexpected joy in Serenity Cove's simple pleasures. Strolls along the shore, laughter-filled talks with Liam about his ambitions. Her presence, though imperfect, was a fragile bridge toward reconciliation, a whisper that even shattered family ties could mend. One enchanted evening, as moonlight draped Serenity Cove's beach in a silvery glow, Ethan guided Sophia to the shore where they had once bared their deepest fears. Beneath the tender embrace of the starlit sky, he knelt, offering a simple silver ring etched with a delicate wave, a symbol of their shared odyssey. His proposal was unadorned, yet it carried the weight of a vow forged in fire, to stand by her side through every storm the future might bring. Sophia, tears shimmering in her eyes, nodded, her heart a tide of overwhelming joy. Their wedding unfolded on that same beach, encircled by the heartbeat of Serenity Cove, locals who had once cast doubtful glances, travelers who cherished Haven's edge, and Victoria, her smile laced with quiet tears. The ceremony, unpretentious yet brimming with love, stood as a testament to a bond that had vanquished every trial. Years later, Ethan and Sophia welcomed 3 children into their world, each inheriting their parents' resilience and radiant warmth. Haven's Edge and the Art Center thrived, cementing Serenity Cove as a haven for those seeking solace and inspiration. Ethan, once a fugitive of wealth, now lived wholly for love and purpose. Sophia, once a girl cloaked in her past's shadows, emerged as an artist and beacon of her community, her light touching countless lives. Their life, though threaded with imperfections, was a masterpiece of courage, perseverance, and unbreakable love. Ethan and Sophia's tale is a symphony of love's enduring power, a testament to the courage to live authentically. They didn't merely find each other. They unearthed their truest selves, rising above crushing expectations and painful histories to craft a legacy of hope and humanity. What resonates with you? Ethan's choice to forsake his inheritance for love, or Sophia's resolve to transform a tainted legacy into a force for good? Share your reflections below, and if you've journeyed with us this far, toss in a Cola-Cola or hot dog to celebrate. Subscribe, tap the notification bell, and share this story with friends to spread its message of love and resilience. Stay tuned for more tales where the heart charts the course.